Good evening. Thank you for tuning in to Odds and Ends Rock and Roll Real Estate, featuring real estate lawyer David Kaminsky, who also is a great pianist, and he plays in many different rock and roll bands. Since this episode was recorded, many things have changed in terms of real estate, evictions, etc., but many of the problems still persist. Anyway, we hope that you learned something and enjoy this episode. Thank you for tuning in.
Throughout most of the pandemic, the federal government has been able to prevent many evictions for people who are behind on their rent. That's due in large part to a moratorium or ban imposed by the Centers for Disease Control and tied to public health concerns. But the Supreme Court has said that the moratorium must expire unless Congress passes new legislation.
There's been so many closures of musical clubs and facilities that presented live music. Many musicians cannot work. There's no place to work, and because they can't work, they have not been able to pay their rent, sometimes 4, 5, 6 months at a time.
My office is located at 325 Broadway, which is downtown Manhattan.
I understand there's been a mass exodus of people leaving their apartments and condos in New York City.
Some people are leaving, and it may be temporary.
Now, I also understand that you were writing a column on real estate for the New York Times. Are you still doing that sometimes?
Well, what was actually happening was that I was answering questions for the editor of the Q&A section of the Times. And every now and then I do that, and it doesn't happen every week, but it could happen once every few months that the editor will send me a question and ask me to provide an answer. So I'm always happy to do that, and I love to do it. It's nice to see my name in the New York Times. People call me or email me and say, "Hey, it was great to see your answer." So it's always a nice thing to have one of my answers in the New York Times.
Beautiful. Now, another question I think that a lot of people want to know about, I do too. Can you explain exactly what is Airbnb? And does that still exist in the climate of COVID?
It does exist. And Airbnb is a platform that was created, and I'm sorry, I don't know the exact people who created it, but it's a business that helps people who want to rent out a part of their home to a traveler or a visitor part-time for a week, a day, a month. And it's like a connection service where it connects the person that has the available room or 2 rooms or even the whole house with the customer, the people that want to rent it. And it certainly does exist, and it does exist now in COVID, and it has perhaps some changes in that the people who are offering their space may need to certify that it is somehow sterilized or cleaned in a sufficient way.
I was going to ask you, does someone need a license to do that, or can anyone just rent to anyone? Must there be a license or an inspection of some kind?
There's no license. There are regulations that can impact someone's ability to do Airbnb. For example, if you own a co-op and you want to Airbnb your spare bedroom, your co-op board is not likely to be happy with that.
Right, okay.
They won't approve it. Or if you have a similar kind of situation with a condo in New York City, or if you own a house that has a homeowners association, there may be rules against it.
Mm-hmm.
Or even if you own a house in New York City in a certain area that has zoning that doesn't allow certain kind of activity, or anywhere in the country or the world even, there could be rules pertaining to your particular neighborhood or municipality that might prevent you from doing Airbnb. So it's a good idea to check whether it's legal or not. Now, a lot of people will just do it anyway and fly under the radar as long as they can and wait and see if anyone complains because sometimes they may need the money that they can get from Airbnb. So they're feeling economic pressure to do it. So that does happen. So even where it's not legal, people go ahead and do it anyway.
Is it a cash hand-to-hand business, or do people pay in advance? Must they pay in advance before they stay? Because I'm saying, what happens if someone stays a week and it says, "Hey, I'm leaving. I'm not paying you." Then what?
What I believe is they have to pay in advance to Airbnb, and Airbnb handles the transfer of the money.
Okay.
It's not booked until the people pay for it.
Now, do you think that the internet, because of its immense connective propensity, do you think it has cut into the business of real estate lawyers, where people can actually find apartments now? They can go on the internet, you know?
Well, yeah, that would be cutting into the business of real estate agents. So, and in some way, real estate lawyers. So, yeah, the internet does do that. Something that I've seen is people go on the internet and they will think that they can download a lease, and they don't need a lawyer to help them prepare a lease for an apartment, or they'll get information on the internet and they'll use that information, and it might work, and they may have no problem if everyone does what they're supposed to do and behaves like gentle people. But in my business, I usually see the things that go off the rails, and I see a lot of people that try to do that and run into trouble. So
serious trouble.
Very serious, and they have to pay all kinds of legal fees at the back end instead of very reasonable legal fees in the beginning. So my advice to everyone is talk to a skilled attorney. You'll save money. You'll be secure. It's a much better way to do it.
I love it.
You have a very expensive, valuable thing when you own real estate. So treat it with the respect and care it deserves, and hire a good attorney to help you make sure.
Someone like you.
Well, thank you.
Well, you know, you remind me of a Joe Louis attorney. I would hate to be on the other side against you, brother. I mean, you do what you do very well. You have that deadpan like Joe Louis. You get the opponent in the corner and you hit that knockout. You have your thing together. And I wanted to say that I'm going to reveal to everyone that you are my attorney, and that you have been representing me in many, many times in court. And because of you, my life is stress-free, man. So I want to thank you. You have handled everything that I needed and put my mind to rest. So it's a beautiful thing. And, you know, I know also that you're a musician. You play keyboards.
Yes. I love to play keyboards. I play, of course, piano, acoustic piano. I play electronic keyboards, synthesizer, organ, even guitar, which whoever doesn't know what a guitar is, it is held like a guitar, and you stand up while you play it. And that's very fun to play also.
Now, what's the name of your band?
Well, I'm in a few different bands. The band that I last performed with is called No Static, and we are a Steely Dan tribute band.
Oh, I love Steely Dan.
Yes, and I also play with the Doors tribute band. And when I'm playing with the Doors tribute band, I get to play all the great keyboard uh, sounds of Ray Manzarek, who was one
Yeah.
of the pioneering rock keyboards. So I love keyboard players. So I love to play music of the Doors, and that band is called the Lizard Kings.
The Lizard Kings?
The Lizard Kings, yes, named after Jim Morrison's pseudonym. That was one of his names, the Lizard King.
And what kind of equipment do you use pretty much to play these engagements? Using Nord, Korg, Yamaha?
Yeah. Well, I have a Roland electric piano, digital, that I really love. It has great electric piano sound. And both Steely Dan and the Doors had a lot of great electric piano sounds, Fender Rhodes, Wurlitzer, and I do love those sounds. And I also use a Nord Electro keyboard, which is very compact, and it has fantastic Hammond B3 sound. And it has virtual drawbars on it, so I can really modify.
So there's no actual Leslie. You don't see a Leslie anywhere, but it gives that same Leslie effect, right?
Yes, it has a tone wheel, and it has what a Leslie. What a Leslie is actually a rotating horn,
right?
That gives it that whooshing, fantastic, rich, full sound. So yes, you can get that sound digitally with the Nord, and sometimes I also have a Korg CX3, which is a Hammond emulation, and it's more designed to sound like a Hammond only. So when I really want to have the best Hammond sound I can get, I'll bring out my Korg CX3. It's just awesome. I love it.
And when you're playing music, you are liberated. All this law stuff is gone. You're in another world, another zone, right?
Yes, that's the beauty of music. When you're playing music, and especially when you're playing with other musicians, you are really connected to the music and to the other musicians, and you are focused on the interaction between everyone and the sound that is being produced, and it's just wonderful. It's definitely an escape, a real escape.
Escape, right? Escapism, musical escapism.
Yes.
Would you say also possibly that people in the entertainment business, musicians and singers, are looked at by landlords and renters and condo boards as bad risks? It's like, hey, you play music, unless you're famous, we don't want you. What do you think?
I recently had a client call me complaining about a neighbor who was a trumpet player.
Oof.
And there have been in my career a bunch of cases involving noisy musicians, and I think it's important for musicians to be courteous to their neighbors. But what I would say is, without being too judgmental, if someone is a jerk, they're a jerk. They're not a jerk because they're a trumpet player,
right,
or a piano player. So someone who's a trumpet player, who's a nice, respectful person, is going to be a fantastic neighbor. Someone who's a jerk, it doesn't matter what they do.
Yeah. So I want to ask you another question. In all your years of being a lawyer and going to court, do you have any fear anymore of going to court to represent a client? Any fear that a judge or opposing lawyer might be able to subvert your agenda to win? Are you afraid of any lawyers, or do you feel like, hey, I've been doing it so long, I am I'm a bulldog myself.
Well, I'm not afraid of lawyers. If there's anything I could say I'm afraid of, it's a client having an unrealistic expectation. And part of my job is to make sure that my client has a realistic understanding of their case and what can be accomplished. And that's usually doable for me, but every now and then I'll have a client and they just don't understand, and or they just don't want to understand, and that becomes difficult.
They want magic.
Right. So it's funny that you talk about a bulldog. Of course, people want a lawyer who's a pit bull or a tiger or a killer or a Joe Louis, like you
Right.
And it's good for the client to feel that he has that on his side, but it's also important that there be a sense of reality about what could happen with the case. Because if I have a case with bad facts, instead of maybe trying to win the case, I might be trying to maneuver the case into a place where I can accomplish a good settlement for the client. So it's not always about winning. It can be about getting the case resolved in a way that is satisfactory.
And when is the next gig that your band has? I'd like to come out. Of course, I guess we can't even project that because there's no place to play because of COVID, right? Am I correct?
Well, that is correct. We don't have any scheduled shows right now, but we do talk and we do practice at home and keep sharp and keep our chops on. To the non-musicians, the chops mean our musical skills, our fingering techniques, our listening techniques, our stamina on the axe. If you don't know what an axe is, that's your instrument to a musician. So yeah, we're staying sharp, but we don't have any shows scheduled just yet. But I will let you know.
Sure. And I want to ask you something else before we go. It's been a great interview. Would you say that in this COVID pandemic crisis, you are as busy as you always have been, or probably more so, because you probably have more housing issues to contend with now because of lack of money, people not working, evictions, etc. What would you say to that?
We're very busy. We have a lot of transactions in the pipeline right now. People buying and selling houses, apartments, apartment buildings. So that part of our practice is very busy. Our litigation practice, meaning our things that we do in court, is also very busy, although the actual court appearances are way down because there aren't in-person court appearances. So we have to do Zoom appearances or there are other platforms that the court sometimes use.
Are you saying that court hearings now are done on Zoom?
Yes. Court hearings, arguments, trials even, motions, appeals, and depositions are done on Zoom, and we've done many of these on Zoom. It is a very involved process. In some instances, it's pretty simple, like just a court conference, but if it's a trial, dealing with things like evidence and cross-examinations and objections can be quite cumbersome. So things move slowly. So the actual in-court work is off, but we still have a lot of litigation practice going on. So I would say we're as busy as we were.
Good. That means you still have your job.
Still have my job, yes. Thank
yes, brother. Hey, listen, man. Yes. It was so beautiful talking to you. I think you answered a lot of questions that I and many of the listeners would like to know. And we'll have you back at some other point in the future, hopefully when the COVID has vanished and we have no idea what's going to happen, okay?
Thank you, Clyde.
Me and you are due for a dinner when we can get past all this, okay?
Yes, and I look forward to playing music with you because you're my most favorite bass player to play
Thank you.
music.
Thank you. Okay, David, man, thank you so much for coming on. David Kaminsky, the great real estate attorney. Thank you.
Thank you, Clyde. Have a great night.
Bye-bye.
We hope that you have learned something tonight about real estate as we all try to navigate our lives through these crazy times. Anyway, thank you so much for tuning into Odds and Ends, and hopefully we will see you next week. Good night and stay bright.